Hello there, and welcome to We Are Crafted in His Image. I am back today with a fun project for you. I have had fun lately coming up with alliterations for like titles for my cards and my YouTube video titles and stuff like that. And so I thought it would be kind of fun to do a Teacup Tuesday. If you have read my blog very often or seen very many of my videos, you'll know that I do love teacups. When my husband was active duty, he used to bring me home teacups from the various foreign countries that he was deployed to. I have inherited some from relatives and friends, and of course you find them at thrift stores and things quite often. So I do have a love for all things teacups, teapots, and so I thought, if I'm going to do teacups, what better one to start with than one that you guys are probably familiar with, and that is of course my little cup and saucer that sits at my desk all the time. This was part of a set, and this poor little cup was missing its handle. And so I thought, well, I'm not going to get rid of it. It's still useful. And so as you know, I use this little saucer as my embellishment holder, and then this is my little trash cup for the backings to my dimensionals and other little bits and bobs of trash. So I thought this would be a perfect little starting point. And the inspiration for this card, you can obviously tell right off the bat that the color of this card was inspired by this, and I want to show you the shape of the card was inspired by, this doesn't want to stay closed, and I'll show you why in a minute. It actually, there's stuff inside there. It was inspired by the teapot that goes with the set. As you can see, that is where the shape came from. And of course you've got this like gold stripes on the edges, and then I added, I don't know if you can see it in there, there's a gold stripe on the edge of the shape there. And of course all the gold accents and stuff came from this. This was the inspiration for my card. So let me show you how we're going to put this together, how we're going to do this. Now this card's kind of fun. It folds out like this, and this part here ends up being a little pocket that you can put a tea bag in. And yeah, kind of a fun little card to do. So let's get started. Let me put this one aside. To begin with, to get that shape, I really just kind of sketched it out. I just kind of knew that it needed to be wider up at the top, and then it was going to get narrow as it went down towards the bottom. And yeah, that was pretty much, I did lift it up a little bit here. Now I could have actually done it so that it had, you know, a little bit of a tea spout coming out, but I really didn't. That was a little bit more artwork that I wanted to do. I just kind of wanted the shape. I just liked that shape. It's unusual for a teapot to have the wider at the top and the narrow at the bottom. And then I simply cut that out with a pair of paper snips, a pair of scissors, and then I used this piece to do it this way. Get me almost a mirror image on the other side. I wanted the bottom of the inside to be sticking out so that it would work as a pocket. It would hold that tea bag in. If the top had been wider, then my tea bag would fall out. So then I just cut this out. And I wanted a little bit of something. I tried various things. I tried adding some leaf along the edge, just a little pattern on there, and then I was like, you know, the teapot itself is very simple. It doesn't have a lot on it, and so we're gonna stick with that. We're gonna go with that. But it did need a little something on the edge. So to do that, I'm just gonna add a little bit of shading on here, and that also kind of gives it the idea that it's a rounded shape. So let me grab out my Bermuda Bay, which is like almost a dead ringer in color for this. Almost matched it perfectly. Grab a little bit of my Bermuda Bay color here, and I'm just gonna brush it along the edge of that cut edge. Deepen that up in there. There we go. Then I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. And you notice when I start, I'm always starting on the scrap paper and then moving on to my Bermuda Bay paper, and that way I don't end up with streaks. the streaks all end up over here and not on this. There we go. There's those two pieces, or those inside and outside, ready to go. And then the next thing I wanted to do was add a little bit of gilding, a little bit of gold edges on here. And this is where I got to use our gold flakes, our gilded leafing. This is something I don't use very often, but I thought we were gonna play with this. This would be fun. So the best thing, you can use our heat and stick powder with this. You just really need something sticky for the gold leafing to stick to. And so to me, the multi-purpose liquid glue was the best option for that. Now this glue actually comes, I don't know if you've used this before, but the unusual thing with this is when it is dry, it stays tacky. It remains tacky even once it's dry. So you can actually use this end of the package and you can brush it across a piece of paper really thin, let it dry, and you actually basically made yourself a little post-it note. It becomes a removable adhesive. But we're going to use the fine tip end here. Now you'll notice that in most of my videos my tubes don't look like this, they actually look like this, and that is because after a while I end up getting sticky all over this piece, and then it's just plastic coat on top, and I just peel that off. So same bottle, it just does, this one doesn't have the label on it anymore. That one is almost empty, so I pulled a new one out just to make it a little easier to do this, because you do want to get, oh actually I don't want this paper, I want my silicone mat. I'm going to use that because, as you can see, this is where I did one earlier, and that adhesive will just peel right off of there. It'll be out of the way. So I'm going to take this, and you just want to go right along the edge, trying to get a relatively even sized line of glue. I have to focus on this. I can't talk while I'm doing it. There we go. And I can see right here I completely missed the paper and went off onto my silicone mat. There we go. Whoops. And then you have to let this dry. Right now you can see it's very opaque, it's very white. You're going to let that dry, and once it's dry it will become mostly clear. It'll still be a little bit milky, but it'll be mostly clear, and it will be tacky. So I'm going to set this aside because I've actually done one earlier, because that does take a while for it to dry. And I'm going to pull in this one that I have already done. You can see this right here? See how tacky that still is? It remains tacky. This is why when you use this glue on different projects, you want to make sure none of that is exposed, or it'll stay sticky in that spot. So now what I'm going to do is the gold leafing, and to do this, you really just need a pretty stiff brush. I have one here. It's got some pretty stiff bristles on there, and I like to just take a piece. You can use tweezers to pick it up if you want. I just use my hand, and then I break it off and keep breaking off pieces and sticking it where it hasn't been stuck yet, and use the brush to kind of put it down. Sometimes you can use the brush to break off the pieces. I try to get the pieces in as big as pieces possible when they break off, but it doesn't matter if they do break into small pieces. It's still perfectly usable gold leafing. There we go. And I'm just going to work my way down, breaking off and trying to keep using all of that gold that's here, and get another piece. Oh, the little tiny piece. And just keep breaking. That's why you like a stiff brush, because then you can go along the edge and break it off, and then all these little pieces, just move them down to the sticky area and they will stick. And get another one. My suggestion is, do not under any circumstances sneeze or even breathe hard when this is open, or you will have gold flakes absolutely everywhere. These things are so fine and so light that they fly all over. on there. And then once I've got pretty much, it feels like all of the sticky is covered, I'm going to go along with my stiff brush here and brush all along the edge, break off any loose pieces of gold. Same thing on this edge. Just burnish that down really. You're just going to make sure it's really well adhered. Now if by chance you got some of that glue on the back side of this piece of paper, you're going to want to take and stick some of the gold to it. Or if you have one of our embossing buddies, you'll want to run that embossing buddy over to put some powder on that sticky area. Otherwise, your flaps on your card are going to end up being tacky back. And you see here where I put some gold right there because it was tacky, and every time I tried to close this it wanted to stick to there. So you want to cover that up so that it's not tacky anymore. This side I did a good job. I didn't get any glue on the back of this one. Woohoo! I did a little bit on this end. You can see where I've got some glue stuck there, or some gold stuck there. Okay, let's get all the extra gold off. And there we have gilded pocket pieces. And all these little pieces are still usable. I do some resin work, or I've just started doing some resin work, and I find those little tiny pieces work really well floating in the resin. So yeah, none of that will go to waste, or very little of it will anyway. There we go. Put the lid on. You definitely don't want that everywhere. And then brush off this extra. Okay, so now let's put our card together. This is actually very simple to put together. I have a card base, just our standard half sheet. Oh, it's got some marks right there. I'll just see if I can hide that. There it is. There we go. Make sure that's good. And then I do already have a score mark. This was a same size. It was the exact same size as this piece of paper earlier, and it does have a score in there. So I'm going to fold that over. And then the front part, yeah, I want this for the front. That part's not going to be adhered at all. So all of the adhesive is only going to go on this inside. And I'm going to do tear and tape on these three edges. None of it here. That way it becomes a pocket that we can stick a tea bag inside. So I'm going to go across the top. Down the side here. And the reason I'm using tear and tape is because this is a pocket. It's going to be pulled. It's going to take a lot of stress. You want that adhesive to be a very strong adhesive that it doesn't come loose. So especially you want to make sure you have it right here at the edge where it's going to take some pulling. There we go. And then we want to peel off the backings, go into my teacup. There we go. And I found the easiest way to do this was, how did I do it? Oh, okay, so there's the front. I lay that all the way up to that score line, and then just lay this down, making sure the top and bottom edges line up. And there we go. There is that part. Let's go ahead and stamp our sentiment inside. I'm going to put "Take care of yourself." Sorry, my head may get in the way here. Alrighty, there's that. And now the rest is all a matter of putting things together. So now I have already die cut the cup base that goes with this stamp set, and I die cut this pretty little embellished one with the floral leaves, which I thought was a perfect match for the embellishments that's on my teacup and my teapot. Before I cut it out though, I did apply adhesive sheets to the back of this, so it is already sticky. All I have to do is peel this back, and now it is sticky. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab, let me pull this over because I'm gonna need it here in a bit. And I like to line up the top straight edge on this. I thought it was a little bit easier for me. And focusing on getting that handle lined up because it's kind of wobbly. this little inside part of the handle. The rest of it goes down pretty evenly. Then I'm going to flip it over and give a really good burnish. Make sure all that adhesive is stuck down. So there is one pretty teacup, and I thought, well, we got to have a match set, because this was a match set. It actually, I was so surprised at that. I found this at a thrift store, my teapot and this cup. And it actually had the teapot, it had sugar bowl, it had a creamer, it had 5 teacups, and this was the only one that was broken. So kind of a surprise. Usually you don't find almost a full set. And the fact that this color matches my china cabinet like beautifully. There we go. Put that down. And then make sure it's well adhered. Give it a good burnish. Okay, easy peasy. Now on the inside of the card, I wanted to add a little bit extra, so I have die cut a few of the hearts that are in these dies came with the same set. It is called the Teacup dies. Ha, how appropriate, Teacup dies, which of course go with the cup of tea stamp set. And I'm going to go ahead and put these down. Let me flip these all over the way they're supposed to be and pull in my adhesive. Now a little tip for your adhesives. This is just a tea light holder, and that's why I keep this one probably doesn't need to be upside down because it's a brand new bottle. But the older bottles, as they start to lose, if you keep them upside down and you're using this tip most of the time, it makes it so much easier to get the glue out than you having to sit there and wait. So I need my take your pick tool here. Get that handy. I'm going to put a dot of glue here, one up here, and then I think I had one here and one here. Alright, put the lid and get my, whoops. Okay, again, I don't want any of that glue sticking out. There we go. So when you put these down, you want to put them down gently so they don't squish all the glue out from behind them. I probably have more glue there than I need, especially on these little tiny ones, because it is a full bottle and it's coming out much faster than my previous bottle. There we go. Okay, I'll let that dry. And then my teacups on this side. And I think on my original I did not. I put this flat, but I think this one here I'm actually going to pop up on dimensionals. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this one down. Let's see about how high up they were. And the adhesive on this, I'm going to put my thumb here to kind of show me that I do not want adhesive over this area. I only want it right in this area here. So let's get a little bit of our glue. Put a little on the handle because there's not a lot of this cup that's actually going to be touching there. So you want to make sure that is well secured. And stick that down. And I am going to flip over to make sure none of the glue is sticking out. Yeah, that looks good. Looks good. And while it's sitting there, I'm going to go ahead and put a couple of blocks on it, give it some weight while I get dimensionals on this. I didn't pull them over earlier. Don't need very many. I'm just going to use full-size ones. I'm not going to take the time to cut them in half today. Just 3. Here we go. And pull off the backings. I have to say, since I've started doing this, I have far less of those on the floor to pick up later than I used to have before I started using my little cup on my desk. Alright, and then let's put this one down. I like to make sure that that handle shows so that it gives you more the impression that it is a teacup. If you hide the handle, it makes it kind of hard to tell. Alright, and then the same gold that I cut this out of, I cut some of the hearts, so they already have paper backing on them. So I don't need to use glue. Is this one? Yep, that one is one. I cut out some white ones as well. I wasn't sure when I originally was designing this how it was going to look, but I think it just needed the gold. The nice thing about this is adhesive also is if you don't burnish it down really well, you can pick it up and move it around. That's why I haven't pushed these down until I know exactly where I'm going to want them to be. And there's one more. They usually say you need odd numbers. For some reason when I did this one I had even numbers, and I think it looks okay. We might try throwing an odd one in here. Let's see. What? Turn a little bit. Let me see, do I want the fifth one? Yeah, we'll go ahead and go with the fifth one just to see. Maybe it should go. I don't know. No, I'm gonna leave it like that. I like it that way. Okay, now I'm gonna give them a good push down so that they will adhere rather well to the background. And there we have a finished card. I did not do the envelope, but it would be just pretty simple to stamp this cup on the corner. I'll have to pull one of my envelopes out. I don't have one handy at the moment. So, but that's what I will probably do, is just stamp that in the Bermuda Bay color. There we go. I hope you liked this fun Teacup Tuesday. I'm looking forward to. I think I have so many teacups upstairs that I can use to get color combinations, flower arrangements. I don't know. I'll just have to take a peek at them and see what strikes my fancy and what I'm going to make with them. So until next time, God's love and blessings to you. Bye.